Hello, creepies and crawlies. How is everybody doing this evening? And welcome to another episode of Ice Cream Queens. Of course, we're going to do everything we can to entertain you this evening. I even have the goat just in case. Can we go ahead and bring in my lovely, lovely co hosts, Lauren and
Hello.
Magda?
Hello.
I don't know if it was just me, but you were so laggy. Your mouth did not match the sound, and I was sitting here like,
no.
"Oh crap! Oh crap! Panic!"
I don't, am I still lagging?
I don't know.
Not to me.
Okay, cool. It's
Okay,
just me.
cool. So there's a lot going on tonight. I'm sorry, my computer is acting weird. All of a sudden, I have all of these weird lines. So if there is something going on and I need to jump on and off and reboot, I will. But in the meantime,
We
our,
exist.
we are in the countdown. We are in the Billy Zane countdown. I know it's an actual event. It's Smoky Mountain Fan Fest. However, it's in the Billy Zane countdown.
I
I'm so excited. That is what, Saturday? Sunday?
Saturday, Sunday, which they
Yes.
announced that there will be a cosplay competition. I believe they said it's going to be Sunday.
Yes.
Which took me
Unusual.
I was like, what?
I'm trying to
Okay.
figure out what time because some of us have a heck of a drive home from there, but that's okay. We will wing it. We will do what we can. I have taken the next day off, so thank God for that.
I couldn't.
Oh, yes, it is on Sunday, according to our friend Huff at Huff Photo. How are you? Hello, hello.
We love Huff.
He is going to be with us at he and I do believe
Ooh.
Jonathan McDaniel are going to be with us at Smoky Mountain Fan Fest as much. What?
Sorry, nothing. The wording sounded
What did I
kinky. Anyway,
what did I say?
he is gonna be with us, and I was just like, oh DL.
I'm sorry, Jonathan is not. Jonathan is not going to be there. I do believe the Cabana Boy and Joey the Roadie may be helping our friend Huff out some. So just kind of prepare. Huff Studios, yes, Huff Photo Studio. I know it's Huff Photo. I keep saying Huff Studios. I'm so sorry. We just refer to everything as Huff.
It's Huff.
Everybody is Huff.
If
Yes.
you do not know what we are talking about, if you have not seen all of the stuff that is Huff on our show, Huff
everything.
is a photographer, and they take the most wonderful pictures at convention. Well, they take the most wonderful pictures anywhere, but their convention pictures are by far my favorite. They come in with this huge black backdrop. They've got like the smoky stuff going behind, and if you have not gotten your headshot done by Huff, if you're a celebrity and you're going to be at Smoky Mountain Fan Fest this upcoming weekend,
oh yes,
go see Huff Photo.
Speaking of, I just want to go ahead. We have got a couple of new segments that we have on. It's on Facebook, but it's also on YouTube. So if you want to catch the new segments first, 10 questions with Ice Cream Queens. Our first guest is author Robin Burks, and she sat with us at Nerds Assemble convention, which we did 2 weeks ago. And then coming up directly after that, we have an interview with photographer Brian Huff, who's actually been on our show before. He's an amazing guest to have. So, and then I have one more thing I just have to share because it's so dang cute. I can't even stand it. Our friends at Hilly Millie Shop, which is Julian Ratliff. She's an amazing seamstress. And Magda, I know this will kind of be near and dear to your heart because all things handcrafted, hand created. Look at my purse.
Oh,
so precious.
like, what is it? Oh, it's a purse.
It's a purse. It's like one of the
Jack Lantern.
The McDonald's original pumpkins. I'm like, I'm so obsessed with this. It isn't even funny. But she made this, and it is she's got great pricing on everything. So I'll drop it in the comments somewhere along the way, and then you can go find her and check her out. But I'm just like, oh my gosh, it's perfect. It's so amazing. All right. What has everybody been doing?
I decided yesterday that I'm going to create a brand new cosplay for this upcoming weekend. So less than a week before the convention. That was a great decision of mine. And I've
no player that's not done that before at least once.
I think I've
It's a
seen.
requirement.
Yeah, I think I've seen some photos. I think you sent me like
I have.
Mary?
Yeah, so a brand sent me like 3 of their Halloween costumes to try on, do a video with. I need to do that this upcoming week. But one of them is a bodysuit of the Cheshire Cat. So it's just like suit. And I am a little extra when I do my cosplays. So now I'm making a little mini jacket and a big foofy skirt and a collar and all of this stuff to go on top of, because I don't know, I don't want to walk around and just like I'm gonna feel weirdly naked. Maybe that's just a me thing. I don't know.
I can see. Have you ever been in crunch time, Magda, and just said like, I'm gonna just make something? I got 5 days.
For my wee one's very first time going to a con, they both wanted to cosplay Studio Ghibli characters. So one wanted to be Ponyo, and the other wanted to be Howl Pendragon. So I had to make that coat. And if you know the character, you've seen it before, the sort of pale blue and pink diamond coat. Could not find any sort of fabric that would come close to it. Was not about to sit there and do it, I thought, by hand, but I did. I quilted this coat.
It's beautiful too.
He looked adorable. This lovely little long blonde-haired boy.
Perfect match.
But I made it in 3 days.
Oh wow! Oh okay. I would have been crying. I would have been sewing and crying.
3 days. Yeah. It was exhausting, but it looked lovely. The cutest thing ever was the fact that the boy had never cosplayed before and wasn't prepared for the attention he was going to get. He surrounded the entire time. I think that's what got him his love for cosplay after that.
Well, here's the thing with the cosplay. Most of us, when we do it for the first time and we get that interaction that is bordering on celebrity, it is such a fun, enjoyable, it's a blast. We have so much fun with it. Oh,
sorry, I was just served dinner.
That's fine. Feel free to eat. We understand it's running a bit late, so somebody's going to enjoy watching you eat. I assure that. I can assure you.
I'll mute it so you don't have to listen to it.
There is just something about the celebrity attention that you get when you go to these type of events. Now, we have an interesting guest with us this evening, and if we would be so kind as to bring in our special guest is Stephanie Moon, and Lauren and I actually know Stephanie through many places, also office environment type things. However, we also know her through several events, and we are kind of rounding out and wrapping up. Now, the last episode last week was kind of a special episode with our friend Vampire Jack and his girlfriend, wife Shane. So that kind of cut into this series of shows that we've been doing on basically events. And tonight we've kind of navigated when people are contacting you, what they should not be asking you to do, that kind of stuff like that. But tonight we're going to be talking more about the personal safety aspect of it. And hey, Stephanie, while we have you here, would you mind taking just a quick moment and kind of introducing yourself and tell us a little bit about your background? Because you have this amazing background that makes you such an expert in this field of knowledge.
Well, as far as name is Stephanie Moon, obviously, the thing in the corner, one of the corners, a corner,
one of those corners,
somewhere there.
Doobly doobly bobs. But I've been in the military twice, and I was a military brat before that. I served in the Air Force and the Army National Guard, and I've done security at events. It started as a volunteer. But I've done security at a variety of conventions, and there's a dance recital that is an all-day affair. I think we did the math not too long ago, and it made my friend feel terribly old when he realized that we've been doing this for like 18 years at this point.
It sneaks up on you.
Wow.
Yeah, my boss in our security group, because we're not a company, it's just a crew of people. He goes by the name Elvis, and Yeah, like the way we met was interesting. I walked into my very first convention. I was wearing an Inuyasha light blue baby doll tee, jeans, and sneakers, and I don't look my age already. I looked less my age then, especially in that outfit. Threw both of my arms up in the air and said, "I'm sober. Who wants to help me fix this?" He was standing right kitty wampus, and he's like,
Oh,
"Can I see your ID?" And that was how our friendship started.
nice.
Yeah.
But
If
yeah,
you
so between military training and everything, yeah, lots of security. Oh, and corrections. I was a correctional officer very briefly.
Yeah,
That's
if you've
awesome.
been to any sort of conventions around in the Memphis area, you've probably heard someone say something about Elvis, something, and you're like, God, Elvis is just really popular in Memphis. Not that Elvis.
Different Elvis. Yes. Yes. So I want to start out by saying personal safety is always a concern for men and women while attending events such as, let's say, you mentioned conventions, but also things such as concerts, bars, clubs, any type of outing. As a trained professional, what is your top recommendation for staying safe in a crowded event?
So depending on the level of the crowd, um, and actually even in a non-crowded event, I'll give the same advice. Either keep your head on a swivel, be aware of your surroundings,
Mhm.
or have somebody in your group that is similar to like having a DD. If you know that y'all are going to get
Hmm.
altered, have one person who's staying rational. Just one, at least one. But situational awareness is always the best bet.
Wonderful. Awesome. I think that we've all kind of been in those situations. For the most part, we have groups that we travel with. We have people that kind of, as some of the events that we go to, not just conventions, but we do a lot of, uh, we MC at different events here in the area. Hang on just one second. My phone is blowing up. Do you mind
Yeah,
taking
no. I
over?
was gonna
Because
go ahead.
I can't,
Hold on for a
I don't
second.
know what's going on.
Stop blowing up, phone.
I know.
So I really agree with the keeping the situation, knowing what's going on around you. It comes into play so often that you wouldn't we were out to eat. We were leaving a convention. We were out to grab food after a convention, us together, and there was some guy who was just on top of, like, following, and as we were heading to the bathroom, on top of my 6-year-old,
Yeah.
just staring at her, and it was making me really uncomfortable. I'm like, "Do you need to go to the bathroom? Do you need to get by? Can you say, excuse me?" No, he didn't need to go to he didn't need any of that stuff. He just kept, like, floating through the restaurant right next to her. And I looked at DL, and DL looked at me, and we grabbed her and went right out into the entranceway. And we're like, "Where are the rest of the guys? Where's the guys?"
I think this was actually at the last event we were at, was it not?
Mhm. Yeah,
Okay.
this was very recent.
And for the most part, when we are at events, as mentioned, we have a crew of people with us. We have people who are acting as handlers. We generally stay behind a table for the most part. Well, we
Hmm.
try to stay behind a table. It's hard to be behind a table when you're not only doing, participating in the event, but also, when you're doing meet and greets and people want photos with you or wanting to do segments with you. But that, to me, having somebody there that can kind of help, as you said, watch situational awareness, being aware of what's going on around you. But when you can't, having a team of people there, and as sad as it sounds, yes, we are absolutely in a team of people. So that's
Yeah. We
wonderful,
have a
wonderful
con
advice.
yeah, we have a con family, and it's
Mhm.
because we love them, but they are also our con family because we will, like, fight for them. And I feel like they would probably do the same for us.
Now, one of the things that we always hear is watch a drink, watch a drink. And to me, I cannot stress that enough. Keep an eye on your drink. And with current trends being what they are, uh, what do you keep current with all of those new little gadgets, such as the roofie detecting fingernail polish, the lid covers, and what are your thoughts on those? Do you find them to be effective?
I myself haven't tried the detecting nail polish yet. I haven't gotten it. Plus, also, I wouldn't have the thing with which to test it with because I'm not that
What do you
guy.
mean you don't
But
carry around roofies in your back pocket?
no, but there's these cute little like straw or cup, like they've got like an elastication around the edge and a hole in the middle for the straw to go through that can help protect it. Like there's all kinds of nifty things that people have come up with because unfortunately we have to. One of the
Yes.
tricks that I do is this is how I carry my drinks.
Absolutely.
If I'm moving around, this is how I'm carrying my drink. Yeah, there's still holes, obviously, but they'd have to get a real lucky shot. And at that point, it'd be like, "Hi, hello, who are you?"
Just to be like,
Yes, have we met?
can we get that? Yes, yes.
Yeah, exactly.
Ma'am, can you just spread your fingers a little bit more on this side?
I would like to drop this in there.
Like,
Don't
no,
mind
but I
me.
would be, I would be very inclined to give you a lovely necklace. I have too.
Okay,
But
so
yeah, there are also little like test strips that you can get that you can keep in like your purse, so that you like say you looked away for a moment or whatever, and for some reason something pegs your vibe, pop out one of the little test strips and boop. So there's a variety of things.
And you never think, you know, especially young people go out, they have a tendency to think I'm invincible, nothing's going to happen to me. And I know that generally that age bracket are the ones who are preyed upon the most. Your younger 30 and under are the ones who are generally preyed upon when it comes to the situation. However, that's not solely the case. I have been out at an event, and oddly enough, this was a situation where someone I knew actually was providing the liquor for the band that was performing on stage. And a bottle was brought up, which we thought was acquired from the bar. We now wonder where it came from. We don't know who, but the runner, who was a family member of another band member, went and got the liquor. He said he got it from the bar, but when we got it, myself, the other singer in the band, and the young man who brought it to us all ended up very extremely altered. And that is one of those situations where when you start to realize the things that you do, not even just the passing out and being, open, because I mean, these two people passed out for, I think it was like 8 to 10 hours each. I actually did not pass out, but I was very, because I only had like a very, very small amount of it. But when you start thinking about that, and I'm like, I'm not a spring chicken. And the people that, I mean, this was myself, another woman who is probably a little bit younger than I am, and a young man. And we all ended up, I don't even want to say roofied, because we think it was something totally different, but just being mindful of where that alcohol or where that drink is coming from. And I'm not saying just alcohol, but I'm just saying in general, inhibitions have a tendency to be lowered in environments that serve alcohol. So always be mindful of where that drink is coming from, and that it is coming directly from the bar, and that nobody brings it to you. You basically are there and have it handed to you.
And see, that's so difficult at places like at a bar place. Yes. Okay, fine. Get the drink from the bar. Good. At a convention where everything is house room parties afterwards and it's BYOB, that's a little more difficult, especially when you're wanting to hang out with everyone and you've really got to pick who you're going to trust in those scenarios. Or, like Moon was saying, have strips on you, test the things. There was actually an alleged incident with that very recently here, with the drugging at a convention. And I was looking for it. I was like, let me pull up that article. I thought there was an article. Didn't find it, but the apparently, and I'm just going to throw this out here. It's a little bit of a change of subject, but this happened 2 days ago. This article came out. 14 arrests in undercover sex trafficking sting at San Diego Comic-Con convention.
What? Wow.
So yeah, that was a thing that happened.
Well, I will say San Diego is a little bit different than what most people are. You've never been to San Diego Comic-Con. You've never been to, I mean, going to some of these larger cons is one thing. Going to San Diego is a totally different element. It is the last that I had heard. I have not personally been, just because I don't want to be in that many people. I don't care who's going to be there. There's absolutely nothing at all vaguely interesting about the idea of getting a time ticket that I can enter the building. I mean, things like that. But the crowds are just so incredibly overwhelming. Speaking of crowds, so, obviously you had mentioned that to us earlier that, crowd control is something that you've done. And when you start dealing with crowds, especially in confined spaces, we know that can be a, a risk, a huge risk, whether it is surges from the large crowd that, we've seen incidents pretty much dating back to as long as we can remember, whether it's been in a stadium for a football game, it's been in nightclubs when the club is caught on fire, where people will stampede towards the door and have this major crush of people. And I do believe that happened recently. I think it was in Korea recently, with a Halloween street gathering where just a huge surge of people ended up crushing and killing quite a few people in that process. Whether as a staff or as a guest, have you ever been on site and been so uncomfortable with the way things are going that you're like, no, I can't do this. This is, and how do you deal with that?
So the time that I ran into that issue, this is also how I found out that I have more baggage from my deployment than I thought I did, is the second time I went to Dragon Con. Because that's another one that has insane crowds. They're up to what, 6 hotels now? I forget it does that.
And there's balloons.
I can even make fireworks. But so we were in, this was before the merchants were, I think now the vending room is now just an entire hotel. But at the time, it was this really tight space. There were so many people. I got separated from my battle buddy, and I had a problem because just even navigating this, they were like sardines, because you've got the vendor tables, their displays. Not only is it insane crowds, but then you've got cosplayers on top of it. And depending on their cosplay, that takes up more space. There's more danglies, more bits and bobs, things that are easy for people to trip over, especially if they're in lizard brain panic mode. There was a festival in, I want to say it was Germany, and it was some years ago. They'd gotten this location, and the way that the crowd control was managed during all of this was just an absolute travesty. And it did end up having a very tragic after effect. I can't remember the count, but yeah, several people did not leave that festival. But yeah, so crowd control and flow is so important, and that's part of why we work with whoever's in charge of the vending room to make sure that we try and have enough space for people to be able to get through and around, that exits are clearly marked, but we also protect the goods of the vendors as well. So we do limit certain accesses, but there's always at least 2 doors, at least 2. And with conventions being what they are, again, back to the cosplaying, that takes up space. And that also it just, again, you're in a panic, but you've never worn a hoop skirt before in your life, and you're trying to run. Next thing you know, you're doing a header, and then somebody behind you, and so on and so forth.
Oof. Well, I also wanted to kind of touch on this with Lauren and Magda, because both of you have baby bats that are relatively small. I know, Magda, yours are not as tiny. The last photo, I was just like, oh my God, they're grown. But having dealt with, so one of the first cons that we went to was where we kind of experienced this. We went to, at the time it was called Wizard World. It was located out of New Orleans, but we ended up going back a second year. And the second time that we went, it went from the venue being very spread out, being very comfortable, to being crammed together, very claustrophobic. If you don't like tight spaces, lots of people, I can imagine for anybody who may have like sound issues and things, but my youngest at the time was probably around 8, and she was cosplaying. And one of the things that I remember is that and the first time she had been to this event in cosplay, everybody stopped her. Everybody's like, "Ooh, let me get a picture. Let me get a picture." And she was kind of like the belle of the ball, but this time it was so crammed together that she was constantly being overlooked. But from the other side of that, I feel like that presents an element of danger when you start having that many people smushed together, and they are not noticing anything below
Aye,
a certain
aye.
level.
I actually had a situation like that with my youngest, my poppet. She was very wee when she did the ponyo. And being wee, it's easy to not notice her with a lot of other taller people. And
Mhm.
something a lot of people don't know about my wee one is that she's also hard of hearing.
Oh.
So it can be hard for her if she can't see me and can hear me either because of the amount of noise going on around us. So I tend to keep them very close to me. As you say, not as bad as she's gotten, a bit bigger. But at the time, her first convention was as delightful as it was scary for
Mhm.
her because she got around a corner in the vendor's room and couldn't find me and was calling for me but couldn't hear me as I'm calling back for her. And
Aw.
we were lucky that she was with a vendor that could hear me and
Mm.
directed me, stood up and directed me to her. But it's frightening for the wee ones, and they can literally get trampled. And no one's paying any attention because they're not being awful. There's so much to see. There's so much to look at. They could be looking, 30 feet down the road and not noticing that there's someone right in front of them. And wee ones get lost.
Yeah, we were at a festival recently, and people just kept knocking in to my youngest. And it got to the point where I was like, "You ready to go? I'm ready to go." And they weren't trying to be mean, and
No.
it was just they were all so involved in what they were doing, and it was very hot. It was very crowded, like to the point where you're walking through the crowd and you're like, "Hold my
Mhm.
hand," like this,
Mm,
bumping into people. So we were like, "Yeah, that's enough of that." We headed out. When it comes to like the trampling, that I'm so terrified
Oh yeah.
something is going to happen with the trampling one of
mhm.
these days. I remember at one point we were at um a big giant theater, and we're sitting in the audience, and everyone is sitting in the audience, and the fire alarm goes off. And everyone else just looking around like, huh,
Hmm.
oh, the fire alarm's going off. And I stood up and I grabbed her hand and I was like, well, I don't know about y'all, but I'm leaving the building. And we were like the first ones up out of the seat heading out because I get it. Everyone's going to sit there and be like, oh, I wonder why the fire alarm's going off. And as soon as smoke appears, then they're
Mm.
all going to panic at the same time. And I'm like, I'm not going to be one of those, but we're going to go now. Thanks.
The advantage that you have, though, in that situation is that you have Joey the Roadie with you, who is how tall? How tall?
6'2".
Okay. And so when it comes to maneuvering through, and I mean, the cabana boy, he's not 6'2", but when it comes to maneuvering through those type situations, I feel like picking up the child and carrying her out is probably going to be the safest. And speaking of height, Stephanie, I just want to comment. Most people are looking at you and they're probably like, "Oh, she's about the same size of these ladies here," and that is a bit deceiving. Do you mind sharing how tall you actually are?
I am, for both sides of the pond, I am 5 foot 10 inches, 177.8 centimeters.
Good night.
Nice,
Okay,
Wow.
nice.
so quite a tall person, and I just have to ask, do you believe that your height is an advantage for you in these situations? And on the flip side of it, has it ever been used against you?
Ooh.
So I don't know that I've ever run into a situation where my height has been used against me, at least as
Mhm.
far as security stuff. It has definitely been an advantage because so the average male height in this country, in the United States, is 5'9". No matter how many guys at the bar are telling you they're 6 foot tall, it's five
They're
nine.
not.
So So I am solidly dude sized and I'm an inch above the average. So when these guys start acting out or acting up, because it's usually the guys, there's the occasional female, but they act out in a different way, which may or may not come up later. But when they're getting all like trying to, pump their chest and da 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 da, I'm looking them dead in their pupils.
And sometimes looking down.
Sometimes. And so for some reason, when they're having to look up or it's this, and they see a woman, like .exe quits working. Like it throws just enough that I can enter de-escalation.
Speaking of de-escalation, are you a fan of de-escalation, or there just sometimes you just really want to stomp a mud hole in someone's ass?
Oh, there's frequently times that I want to. Many times. Many times. So many times. But then two things stop me. Two things stop me. I like handcuffs, not like that. Orange, that shade of orange is not my color. And two, paperwork. There's so much paperwork.
Yeah.
I don't want
No one wants that.
No one wants that. So yeah, I try to de-escalate because it's also just better for the environment as well. Like there's been times that some level of physical has been involved.
Yes.
The downside though is, Jason, is you can hem clothes that are too big. It's kind of hard to pull extra fabric out of thin air. So finding female clothes that are my size is just like, really? So,
dear, you must know that I come from a family of ridiculously tall people, except for me. I'm 5'5". I have sisters
that's
that
an inch
are
above the average for women in this country.
But my baby sister, I've got one that's 5'9". I have one that's 5'11", and one that's 6'2".
Whoa!
So,
yeah, they all know my pain.
And then my eldest brother is 6'9". So actually, the best moment in a con ever was because of that. It was so crowded, we couldn't go anywhere, and everyone was in the way, and I was just little me trying to get through, and my brother pulled a Fessick from the Princess Bride and literally said, "Everybody move!" And they did. Parting of the Red Sea. It's delightful. I wish I could have him with me at every con that I've ever gone to.
I have occasionally.
That sounds amazing.
So I did make E5 when I was in the Army National Guard, Sergeant NCO. And one of the things that they train you on in the military, even before you get to that point, but especially after, is you learn how to project. And you can tell I have a fairly deep voice. So I have pulled, not quite the Fezzik, but it's the whole,
Nice.
Thank you.
There are techniques that we all use. I do believe there's been a couple of conventions that we've been at where we have been asked to either host or interact or announce something. And we had like a whole, the last one we were at, we were actually doing the cosplay contest, and we didn't have a microphone. And so it became one of these things that's like, hello, it's like project to the back of the room. And neither Lauren nor I are quiet people.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Big voice, big booming voice. Okay. All right. So I want to ask some questions because I know that there are scandals. I know that there are horror stories, and I do want to save those, and I want to get to those. I want to kind of cover those the last bit, but I have a couple more questions really regarding you specifically. So you have a very unique style. And the first time that I ever saw you, thank you. The first time that I ever saw you at an event in your uniform, you were actually tight-laced corseted as well. And you wear that. So, okay, I there's questions. First of all, let me go back to my questions. I let my phone shut down. All my questions are right there. So have you ever had a weird reaction from somebody at an event regarding you being security and being corseted? You don't look, when I see you, it doesn't project that you are attending the event. It's very obvious that you are there in some type of official capacity. However, have you ever had somebody kind of interact with you weird because of that?
So I've gotten your standard slew of questions. Who are you cosplaying? This, that, and the other. Because
Ah.
there are a lot of different comic world things that have paramilitary vibes, like Resident Evil, things like that.
Okay.
I've of course gotten the standard questions. I don't know if you could see how hard I was rolling my eyes there,
Oh no,
but
we felt that.
how are you breathing?
How do you
And I'm like,
breathe?
I've been talking to you for like the last 10 minutes. How?
You see, when you put on the corset and they pull the laces, the lungs migrate into the throat area, and I breathe
Along with
from
the
my
boobs.
titties.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Basically,
mean, it's where the whole heaving bosom thing comes from.
yes. Basically, what
But
happens is your lungs move into your titties and make them larger.
yes,
Oh,
la. But
That's
the corsets
what
that
I
I
heard.
wear, they're all underbust corsets, so they actually don't really do
Aye.
much for up here.
Mm.
And in fact, I basically have to borrow from historical dress principles, and I have to wear a tank top
Mhm.
and then my underwire uh, bra because any boned garment is going to rub. And I've found that
Mm-hmm.
the underwires chafe me like crazy these days. I don't know
Aye.
why. All of a sudden, I'm super sensitive to it. It's annoying. So tank top, bra, shirt thing stuff, and then the corset over it, and then that kind of pushes the bra. So yeah, everything does look nice. But my corsets are all I got them from Corset Pumpkin Kill, and I really hope they actually come to some of the conventions in our area again, or I'm gonna have to go and drive and hunt them down because I need more. I'm wearing them out. But they've got good stuff. The boning is the ones that I get and I wear. It's sturdy, stable boning. It's not like the Fredericks of Hollywood thing. And
Mm.
I have a long torso, so it's easier for me to tight lace without suffering adverse effects. Like somebody with a short torso is going to have a harder time.
Aye.
They're only going to be able to reduce just a little bit.
So
Physics.
I'm a corset aficionado. I actually make corsets myself and wear them almost daily. So I know
So
what you
staying in
mean.
touch with you now for the rest of my life.
Mm.
Understood. I was like, I have $400 to blow. Here you go.
Oh,
Ah!
do you good? I could do you good.
So the first
But
time, oh, sorry.
but yeah, so when they see me in the corset, for me it's just clothes. So I'm in security mode and I'm owning the space. So fortunately, nobody's ever gotten too weird about it. They just ask the stupid corset questions.
We know
Well,
them
there
well.
is an element of dominance that goes with it. When you start realizing that somebody is buckled in, or in your case, laced in, because I mean, I think that we've all been in those situations where you present larger than life because you are faced with a situation that you have to handle. I know that I've seen Lauren in action. I know Lauren has seen me in action. We have definitely seen you in action. Magda, I have not seen you in action, but I feel sorry for anybody who passes you, because I have a feeling you would be quite evil. But I think that there is an element that people don't understand, that when you are put together, you are laced up, there's an element of, I feel very in control of not just my body and myself, but everything around me. And you can basically conquer anything that comes your way.
It's armor. I mean, it
Aye,
is functionally
exactly.
the good construction ones, or well
Mhm.
constructed ones, I should
Mm-hmm.
say. I can English. Um, no, I can't. It's armor. It's sturdy. It's
Mm-hmm.
thick. Like I would almost feel sorry for anybody who tried to take a shot at my stomach because the little busk rivets right there. I'm like, you
Oof.
don't.
Ow.
Mm-mm.
Oh,
Steel busks, not fun to punch.
no.
Well, when you think about, I think on average, when you're looking at steel boned corsets, you've got 24 steel bones plus the
Mhm.
busk,
Mm-hmm.
plus the back lacing, which is generally steel as well.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's basically somebody like punching steel. And I know armor is a wonderful description of it. I mean, when I put mine on, I feel like I don't want to take a punch to the gut, but I feel
No.
like, if somebody were to, I mean, first of all, if somebody came up and actually put their hands on me, first of all, I probably wouldn't feel it. I mean,
depending on which corset I'm wearing.
that's
The
true.
lovely ones that are made from
You'd
like a
still
thick
feel
cotton
it, but
couture, a thick cotton couture that's heavy, that's almost like a canvas, and then
Hmm.
you've got 2 layers because you have the inner and the outer layer. You've got the waist tape, plus all of the boning and the boning channels. And
Hmm.
that's, whether it's flat steel or spiral steel, which I prefer because it's more flexible. But it is like armor. There was armor back in the day that was made of fabric, that was made of paper. So if it's well constructed and it has fitted well, especially, it does feel like armor. It's wonderful. It gives you a lift, literally and figuratively. And I don't know, but I have to say, when I'm wearing one of my corsets, I feel more confident than I do in any other garment that I wear. And I will admit, I am not subtle. I'm Scottish, so I, I'm, I'm not delicate. I may be a bit pressy from time to time, but no, I have to admit, having been through so many cons in my life and having worn some ridiculously tight and skin-like clothing and these cosplays, you either have to grow a thicker skin and become more fierce and walk through that place as though you own it, or you have to have someone who does that for you.
It's interesting that you reference that, you have to grow thick skin, especially when you're going into
Mm-hmm.
these environments. We always talk about when we're especially hosting cosplay contests or costume contests, people get a lot of ridicule sometimes for doing the things that they love because not everybody understands it.
Mm,
But you almost have to have a layer of armor but when you walk out into any environment like that, because you know that somebody is going to be there, possibly, poking fun. They don't understand what they're seeing. Maybe they're first time peepers and they have never really paid that much attention to this, and now they're just like, oh, what is this? But I kind of it's interesting that you reference that, because I do feel very much like that when I put on my corsets. And sometimes there are times that I'm just like, I'm not going to wear one today because I don't want to. But I also know that I'm going to be there surrounded by my family, and I'm going to be comfortable and I'm going to feel a bit more protected and at ease. But yes. Um, so how did you come to incorporate corsetry in your uniform? I'm sure there's something that led to that.
so I'm when I started being one of Elvis's uniformed security peeps, there's he and I usually. Everybody
Mhm.
else is like in some kind of civies. There's even a few subtler ones that they're in insert cosplay or whatnot here. But he and I are the ones that like you can pick us out. Like we look official.
Yes.
And but yeah, I got like I said, corset punk and kilt. They're the ones who they got me into a corset that actually had waist shaping, like the pro and hip flare spring. Because
mm-hmm,
I'm sitting down, you can't see it, but I've got like a 50-inch full hip, and some of it is booty, yes, but
mm-hmm,
it's I'm like you can literally feel where my hip bones are. Like I
mm-hmm.
yeah. So the little gentle off the rack ones, they would
Aye.
always dig in at the top of my hips. I could not get them
Yeah.
to fit comfortably.
Doesn't
They
proper
threw me
corset
in one that had
cubes.
hip flare, and
Mm.
I was just like, ah,
God
and
bless
it happened to be
corsets.
black. Ah, me.
Mm.
But so, and it happened to fit, and it was black already, and I was like, you know what? Key. And
I got
I
it.
got
I
permission.
liked it.
I exactly, and I got permission from Elvis to do it. He saw that I could move around and everything because he and I are also part of this group called the SCA, Society for Creative Anachronism,
Know it well.
medieval nerds,
Aye.
Yep.
and so things like stays and the like we're used to seeing and dealing with, and also seeing how people can move in them. And so he was like, yeah, sure, fine, like you're good, and off I went.
I started my seamstress work doing historical clothing. And actually, at one point in time, I had decided I was going to do restoration until I discovered how horrifically boring it was. So that didn't last long. But I know the SCA well, quite love it.
Now I know that.
Yeah.
Oh, go
Oops,
ahead.
sorry.
No,
I
no,
was
go
just gonna
ahead.
say, like, I sew by hand. I have a sewing machine. It
Mhm.
hates me. So watched a lot of Bernadette Banner, and I got really
All
good
right.
at various hand sewing techniques. You know, the catch stitch, this, that, and the other, whip stitch, so you can do jersey and elastication. And I'm just like, I'm good.
That's amazing. That's an incredible skill. If I had to get rid of my sewing machine, I would cry. Absolutely cry. And mine hates me too. And I just don't. There are certain things I'm like, don't really need that. I'm like, I can buy that. I don't need to make it. So that's kind of. I can tailor it down to fit me, or tailor. You know, as you know, you can't add more fabric where there is no fabric. However, you'd be surprised what we can add in to make things fit sometimes when they don't. So we can be very creative.
Panels.
Those are called design modifications. That's what they're
There you go. I'm very good at those.
We've been fighting with sewing machines all day, and one of them is literally in timeout. It is just we shoved it over there, and we're like, no, and it continued with a different model.
I have 5, so
oh, okay.
One of them will behave.
She has options.
It's an expensive hobby. A lot of people are like, oh, I can go to Walmart and get a $200 sewing machine. I'm like, no, that's not where it ends. That's where it starts. That might be where it starts.
A $200 one, that one's going to fall apart on you. Oh.
You start getting the good stuff, and you gonna pay. Like, I saw a sweater like that at Walmart. I was like, this is made out of merino wool, hand dyed, this, that, and the other. I was like, I've got $700 worth in just the yarn. You did not find this at Walmart.
So, as
words.
I can't word. Okay,
words are good.
Yeah. I'm like, there's words in there. I know that. Okay, so what's our phrase? I can't words for shit. All right. So security, crowd control, like any other type of law enforcement, is generally seen as being a male-dominated industry. You being a female in that industry, if you were to talk to, let's say, a young woman coming into this industry, what are some takeaways on how that you have gained on how to navigate that field?
So most of my careers, like even my day job now, I'm in, I work at environmental health and safety and fire safety specifically. Also a male dominated field. Military, heavily male. Corrections, heavily male. Although there's more females in it. So many of my jobs have been male dominated. And again, I grew up as a military brat. So a lot of these things were just, they're almost intuitive for me because it's just always been there. So it's kind of hard to have a list because I don't know what I do in a lot of cases that I can't. But for anybody who is going into a male dominated profession, I can give you at least 2. Number 1, they put their pants on one leg at a time. They're human just like you are.
Yep.
Their sense of humor might be a little different and they smell different, but they're human just like you are. 2.
What's that corn chip smell? Some smell like Fritos.
Sometimes. And 2 is, it's a quote. I can't remember who said it, and I'm probably about to butcher it. But do not assume malice what can be explained by ignorance and stupidity. Just because your coworkers have said something, they're not necessarily, and more often than not, they're not being malicious. They're not being, woman's place is blah. Frequently, it's either from ignorance or stupidity. If they haven't worked with women before and whatnot. Also, there's some things that it's not necessarily a gender thing. It's just some people don't people well. So, one thing I tell anybody going into any sort of new work environment or new profession or trying a new thing, sit back, relax, observe the environment for a while before you get too in a twist. And 2, establish what your boundaries are and then stick to them. You don't have to have like a big, so like, you can't do this, you can't say that, you can't do this to me, that. You don't have to be that aggressive with it. But if somebody does something, you let them know, look, I didn't like this. This makes me uncomfortable. Or, I don't like talking about these kinds of things. I don't like this. This is not my kind of sense of humor. You want to talk about nerdy stuff and computers? Sure. Wang jokes, maybe not so much. But and then there's people like me who are like, I'll fire back, and
Mhm.
I'm gonna win. But again,
I
I
believe
grew up
that.
in that environment. But yeah, so establish your boundaries politely. You don't have to do it super aggressively, and stick to them.
I appreciate that answer. My
Mhm.
youngest daughter is getting ready. She starts school in the fall, and she is getting ready to study in a field that is predominantly male oriented. Although we are starting to see more and more women as morticians, that is definitely something where
Mm.
in overall scope of knowledge that has been kind of a male dominated field. All right, so let's talk about. Um, how do you handle people who have partied just a bit too hard and you know that they need to go?
So, especially once any sort of alteration takes place, because they could be, it could be a variety of things, legal or not legal. And so this is where the de-escalation thing comes in. You start soft. If somebody's had a few too many, hey, maybe it's time you found your room, get you your bed, here's a garbage can, throw open that, not on me.
Sorry about that.
Mm.
Just kidding.
No, I literally, I wasn't on the call. I was dealing with somebody else and their issue. But then I look over and I see this person. There's friend person holding garbage can, other friend behind, sort of steering,
Oh dear.
and they're frog marching them to because yeah,
Oh.
they'd had a little too much fun, and frequently their own friends will help and take care of them. These things don't happen in a vacuum. I will go to things by myself, but frequently there's at least one friend, and sometimes you can get the friend. This is why I say keep at least one person who's going to stay rational the whole time,
Mhm.
because they'll interact with their friend better than they will authority. We had one dude who just kind of tiptoes a little into some of the OE stories, but he was a former Marine, prior Marine, however it is that they phrase it, because Marines are special like that.
Yes, they are.
Like I was in two different branches of the military. We can all tease each other all day long. As soon as the civilian starts popping off at the mouth, though, we all come and get together like it's the Goodfellas. Anyway,
Mm.
no, that's my little brother. No. Anyway,
You can't talk anything about him. I talk shit about him.
There you go. Absolutely.
these hands are ready to eat for everyone. But so when he started getting altered and heavily so, he gets belligerent
Mm.
and he gets aggressive. And he's got that training behind him and the build that I'm like, so we keep it
Mm.
soft. We keep it soft, we keep it gentle, we redirect, and usually he's pretty eventually we can talk him down. It's gonna take a minute, but eventually we get through to him. But for the most part, yeah, it's a soft approach, redirect, get the friends involved if we can. More often than not, though, we're responding to broom parties that are just too loud.
So what is your breaking point? What is the final straw that basically says you have to go? You've got to get out of here. I don't care where you go. You can't stay here.
So my personal line for that is touch a child inappropriately.
Yes.
I'm going to jail. It'll be with a smile. I'm going to jail. Um,
And you will be celebrated.
Mhm.
what happened? Ask your CEO, they'll tell you. And but that's my personal line. Like that's for me is like I don't care who, how, what you want to do as long as it's safe, sane, consensual, and everybody's of age. Have fun, kids. Nope. But we've had people earn day bans, like they couldn't come back until like the next day. We've had people earn event. It's like, nope, that's it. You can come back next year, but you're gone. And then we've had some people that they've gotten lifetime bans. And frequently it's because they're doing things that are super inappropriate and involves minors. That's pretty much our
Mm.
line. Because just about everything else is stuff where it's like, okay, this was an interpersonal issue or whatnot, and y'all just aren't getting along. There's like not a lot we can do about that, especially when it's among adults. It's like, look, y'all are gonna have to work this out. In some cases, if they're too disruptive, they will be asked to leave because at a point it does start interfering with other people's enjoyment of the event or their
Absolutely.
safety.
Mm.
And because those things will spill. It's like all it takes is one thrown thing and
So out of the horrors, we're actually running out of time, and I want to hear the horror stories.
Absolutely.
So out of the horror, what is your favorite one? That is like the story time. All right, story time. This is the blah 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 one.
What is the most horrific experience? I guess is what we're looking for. What's going to be shocking?
I want to hear the favorite one to
Scandal.
be told, because usually those
Okay.
are funny.
Yeah.
so I don't really have a whole lot of like horrific, fortunately, because again, these are nerd conventions. Like people are there to have a good time. They're there to get their geek on, and for the most part, we're already used to being picked on by the outside world for our interests. And then we run into gatekeeping inside the nerd world, and it just gets complicated and is annoying. But meh. But people are there to have fun and have a good time. We recently did have to, and he didn't just get banned from our event. There's because all of the cons talk to each other. Like we all
Oh.
communicate. I do security at like 3 of them,
I bet I know who this
and
is.
he just recently was not only banned from that particular event, but several others as well, because a lot of the con committees have overlapping members. It's not even that they talk to them; they work on multiple
Mhm.
conventions. Y'all wouldn't know anything about that.
I don't know what you're
No, not
talking
at all.
about.
It's
So
not an
what he had
incestuous
been,
community at all.
oh no, I say that about Memphis all the time because like the goth, the industrial music, the all of these different things. Like if you look at a Venn diagram, it's mostly a circle with just little wiggle lines.
Mhm.
But he had taken a picture of a girl who was in a cosplay, and it was a very short skirt. And she came up to me, and she's like, I think you just took a picture of her ass. And I was
Oh, and
like,
up the skirt shot.
it was, well, I don't think it was necessarily an up the skirt, but targeted area.
Gotcha.
And I was like, well, I know him, and I hadn't heard anything because there's some things that people talk to me about, there's some things that people talk to Elvis about. I was like, I know him. I haven't heard anything or seen anything weird. He might have been taking a picture of something else. I'm not discounting what you were telling me. Let's be clear. I will look into it. And I go and talk to Elvis, and he's like, yeah, I've gotten some, we watched him for a while. And basically, this individual had several chances. Like, I don't know if he was some.
I have people texting me right now asking if it's the same person that I've actually had a run-in with. I know several people have had a run-in with. We'll talk afterwards for a brief
Don't
moment.
name names.
Don't name it. Keep on going. Keep on going.
I don't drop names because I got this thing about being sued. Not on.
Yeah.
Not on air.
Fair.
So, and that, I mean, because notice I'm not even saying which event it was at either.
And
so,
event. Definitely that dance one you were talking about, right?
I danced too much last night. I was very hungover today, so I'm just like, which one? Anyway, but yeah, so we kept an eye for a while, and then he got one more talking to, but the thing is like within 30 minutes of that conversation, we have another girl coming up to us, and she's almost in tears, and we're getting her settled off to the side, but yeah, it was
bye bye. You can
gotta
leave
go
now, sir. Thank you.
It's like, sorry, we've talked to you before, and I was part of the crew that escorted him off site.
And sadly, that happens more than you would think. And even though we are a very small community, it is one of those things where somebody just texted me directly and said, sorry, not sorry, in reference to your comment there. Yes, I am getting direct texts in reference to this conversation because there are people like throwing names at me about who this person might be.
No.
Oh yeah, no. Because generally what you find is when you have somebody who has worked within that community and they are known for being an offender in that community, they don't just stay within that community. They kind of
No.
go all around. And the next thing you know, it's like every subculture group
Oh yeah.
knows
Aye.
who this person is.
Oh yeah.
And
No.
they're saying, no, no, no,
Mhm.
no, no, they're not going to be here.
I even counts with the
There's-
like.
Especially in Memphis. I don't know if this is like where everyone else is, where the rest of the world works this way. But in Memphis, there's like a circle and all of these other circles that like, here's the convention people, here's the goth nightclub,
Mhm.
here's the
Yeah.
burlesque dancers, and
Well,
they
that's
all
why
cross over into
It's a
the
Venn
show.
diagram.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Creates a Venn
that's why I said
diagram.
if you looked at it, that's why I said earlier, if you look at it as a Venn diagram, it's mostly just one big circle that has little petals kind of running around the outside.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because the
So
crossover is real.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
So I'm receiving notification from our backstage guy that we are at the top of the hour.
That was so
How did
fast.
that go so
Too
fast?
fast.
That was
Too
fun.
fast.
Yeah. You're Stephanie, you're an amazing guest to have on, and we would love to have you come back in again, because there's a couple of topics that I think that would be wonderful for you to talk with us about, specifically corset training. Because I think you have trained before, or you waist train now, or are you waist training?
No, I just not right at the moment, because I've only got a couple of corsets and they are starting to wear out. But I
Need to
do
fix
know
that.
because between some of the other various YouTubers, but there was one back in the day, reaching way back, like her username was Bishonen Rancher at one point, but then the YouTube channel became
Oh,
Lucy's
aye.
Corsetry.
No, I know.
And she has a lot of really
Love
good
her.
information
She's
on
fabulous.
waist training principles, making corset. Anybody who's getting into corsetry, I was like, so you're
Aye.
going to go and dig into the historical archives called Lucy's Corsetry and start there.
She's
Because
magic.
she
She's
covers everything.
she's an acquaintance of mine. So
Oh, wonderful.
I
Wonderful.
always send people to her first and foremost. If you've never worn a corset, go to her, look at everything she has to say, because she's brilliant. So definitely.
So, Stephanie, if people would like to find you and communicate directly with you, or just follow you, where can they be your friends or fans, or where do you recommend that they find you if you want them to find you?
No.
They may not want to find me. They really might not want to, because the ADHD is real with this one.
The squirrel.
So
That's what makes it so fun.
Yay.
I mean, but so I'm on both TikTok and Instagram. The Instagram stuff is, I haven't been as prolific on it before. It's got some of my sewing stuff on it. It's got some of my actually some of my sketchbooks from back when I was in art school. And then recently I've trying to post on it more often, and they're both all lowercase. I got lucky. I don't even know how I managed this, but they're both Luna Child 22, and it's LUNACHILDE 22, which is hilarious because whenever I go on TikToks and it's some of the Asian guys or girls, they go to read the name, but because their root language, they see the E and they pronounce it, and it's cute.
Aww.
It's like, yes, Luna Childe. Close enough.
That's fine.
So
Okay,
that
and
should
then
be both my Instagram and my TikTok.
and you, of course, we love little squishies. We love our squishies.
Oh, show the
And you
squishy.
have a
Squishy.
squishy with you. This is a handmade squishy.
It is not handmade.
Okay.
It produced. It's the emotional support demon from the YouTuber The Click.
Cute.
This was of the 25,429 made on the first push. It has toe beans.
Oh, toe beans.
It's got cute little ears and a horn and a tail. It has a tail. And I literally, like, if you go on my Instagram, you'll see I was traveling with this when I went to the AT's concert just this last weekend. And yeah, I was carrying him around on the airplane and everything. He's actually made this part of his permanent stuff now. It's about $30. They did a whole Pride collection not too long ago with like rainbow eyes and rainbow horns, and they were really cute. I think they've stopped that now, but But yeah, so
Definitely.
it's my little squishy that he fits nice, and I can carry him around and be like, and you all stink.
He is my
I am
kitty
the
and I love him.
well,
I
and
don't.
because here's the thing, and believe it or not, this actually ties into a good security point that I can touch on.
Hmm.
Look like the weird person. Wear the dress and the crown out in public. Carry
Love
the
it.
emotional support demon.
We do.
The obnoxiously bright coat of 10,000 colors. You know, whatever. Be that weird person because that makes you a harder target of opportunity
Mm-hmm.
because you will be remembered.
Mm-hmm.
Aye.
Like
Oh yeah.
it's like
Oh.
where did so and so go? I don't know. Well, how about to name drop because I don't know her personally, but she wears crowns and dresses and stuff on her TikToks. Estrella, Lady Estrella, Queen
Oh,
Estrella.
I
Yeah,
love
love her, love
her.
her, love
I
her.
love her.
One, she's a hoot, but two, you dress like that and you're out on the street. Yeah, no, I haven't seen her for 2 days. Do we need to send somebody to like do a wellness check or whatnot? Yeah,
Mhm.
where's my little crown chick?
I feel like
If
that's
you're the
Lauren.
weird one, you're going to be remembered.
I do walk around like that.
I know. We do.
Like
we walk around.
if I go missing, people are gonna be like, "Where's that like 5 foot tall gremlin with the green hair at?"
I'm like, did y'all see somebody dressed as Ronald McDonald walking around here? Because we can't find her
I mean,
now.
my hair was primary red not too long ago. It's washing out to this very interesting ombre look right now.
It's pretty still though.
Like a dusty rose.
You have your. I can't put mine down. I've just got a handful of Godzillas at the moment because I'm in my Godzilla phase. I love Godzilla. All things Godzilla.
My
I'm not
second
going to
favorite
tell you.
stuffy.
I'm not going to tell you that I have the remote control fire breathing one that lights up or the misting one that lights up.
I mean, it's your lie, you tell it. So
Yeah.
this is my Sangwa Anatees
Oh.
stuffy.
Cute.
But then never tell me I can't do something. So when we were going to Kuwait, we had to stop in Ireland.
Mhm.
And I had a window seat. As we're flying into the airport, it's all these lovely green fields, which yes, Irish grass is its own shade of green. It's the coolest thing I've ever seen in my life.
Yes.
But we were flying over all of these fields and I saw all the sheepies. Now remember, I knit, I crochet, I also spin on a drop spindle.
Mhm.
So I'm like, sheepies! I was just dorking out, and my sergeant's sitting next to me on the plane going, Moon. What? You can't bring one with you to Kuwait. We clear security. We're in the area where they've got all the touristy stuff and some food and things. So we're all relaxing, waiting for the plane to get refueled and stuff and things and sundry.
Oh, you found the sheepies. Get
Okay.
I got a white face and a black face.
Okay.
And I literally, I got them and I was like, and I walked up to my sergeant and I was like, guess what? Boop.
Gotta love it. Gotta love it. All right. So with that said, I hate to cut this short, but we have to say goodnight and everybody yell sheepies instead of pleasant screams.
With that said, sheepies.
Chippies!
Pleasant screams.